Savage.
He wants you back, Dex. He's calling you back to the state of Florida, my guy.
Yeah, the sanity's coming back this way, and it's safer for kids. I got 3 kids in school.
Real talk, no filter on Savaged Unfiltered. Savaged.
That's what I call it. The unicorn fart delusion. They love doing that. They're like, I'm not voting for Trump because I hate him, but he has great policy. Wait, say that again? You're not voting for him because you hate him, but you do agree some of his policies and agendas that went forward under his presidency from 2016 to 2020 was great. But you're just not voting for him because he's an evil man and you just don't want none of that, huh? Is that the problem? I don't know. But we're gonna wrap it up here soon, Croc. You're more than welcome to stick around, buddy, as a special co-host here on the show. As we got Scott Schara joining us here. I hope I didn't butcher his last name, Schara. I think that's how you say it. He's going to be joining us here as a featured guest, and he has a tremendous background, and I'd love to get a little bit more about him and what he has to the table here. But guys, thank you very much for joining us here exclusively on X, and stand by, guys, because we're gonna bring in the next panel here with Scott and Croc here, co-host of the show. But don't go anywhere, guys. We're gonna bring Scott Schara right in a moment. Be right back. Alrighty, guys. Welcome to Savage Unfiltered here. I'm the host, Savage. And joining us here once again is Croc. Decided to stick around. I basically kind of plugged a little bit for him. Hey, you're more than welcome to stick around. You know, I had Chicken live here in studio about a week and a half ago. Drove up from his neck of the woods. I was actually in the other studio over there in Cocoa Village. So it was very, very close to him. At least he didn't have to drive all the way from where he lives in that side of Florida up to Tampa. So I appreciate that. So Croc, man, you got any side comments here on Scott? I don't know if you know him very well, but he's got a tremendous background of a story of
Savage.
Actually, not the guy, but I'd love to talk to him.
Yeah, he's a pretty well-informed guy.
Deep fake guy.
I don't know. I don't want to say yes, because usually there's things about people that comes out like kind of mid conversational wise. So we'll find out. I don't want to say yes, but I don't want to say no. You know where I'm going with that, right? Because there's a lot of things about people that sometimes are not who they are or not who they state they are. You kind of find out like mid conversational wise. So we'll find out. We'll find out.
That's why when people ask me who I am, I'm just like, listen to me for a little bit. You'll figure me out.
Yeah.
Figure me out.
Yeah. So without further ado, let's bring in Scott. Scott, welcome to Savage Unfiltered. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. By the way, you did butcher my last name, but
did I butcher it? I'm so sorry, guys. Sorry about that. Schara?
It's
Let's
Schara.
get it out of the way.
Schara.
So the C is silent then.
That's correct.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about yourself, sir. Where you've been and what you're doing now, sir. I want to kind of understand, maybe if you want to talk about the present first and then talk about the past. Like, the floor is yours, sir. Go ahead.
Well, the past is how I got here. My beautiful 19-year-old daughter, Grace, who had Down syndrome, was murdered in a hospital on October 13th of 2021. And subsequent to her death, I started researching her records, ultimately came to the conclusion that she was murdered after about 500 hours in the records, and now have become a full-time activist, researcher. And we have the first of its kind medical battery lawsuit in the country. We have a jury trial scheduled for November 4th. Just quickly to give your audience a little background on Grace. So I already said she had Down syndrome. She was extremely high functioning. She could public speak. She could read, write. I taught her how to drive a car. She deer hunted with me. yeah, she was my best buddy. She was a fantastic gift from God. And ultimately, on Grace's last day on earth, October 13th of 21, the hospital, through the doctors and nurses, euthanized her. They gave her a drug combination of Precedex, Lorazepam, and Morphine that you use to euthanize somebody in their last hour of hospice care. And when it came time to revive Grace, we found out the doctor had put an illegal do not resuscitate order on her chart, because as we were screaming to save her, my daughter Jessica was in the room, my wife Cindy and I on a FaceTime call. The nurses would refuse to come in the room. Instead, they stood outside the room and screamed back, "She's DNR." And we hollered, "She's not DNR, save our daughter." And they refused. And we watched her die on that FaceTime call at 7:27 p.m. on October 13th of 21. Well, that lit a fire under my rear end. And now this is what I do full time. I'm working about 90 hours a week, approximately 25% of the time on the lawsuit, 25% of the time on interviews like this. I've been on about 900 shows so far.
Yeah, you're no stranger. I've seen many appearances by yourself, sir, and countless of different types of programs and media appearances. I was aware of what you were referring to with your daughter there, but I didn't want to go into that just at first. I kind of wanted you to share a little bit of it if you were willing to share it, because it is a touching story and unfortunate that it had happened. Can you tell us a little bit more, of the backstory, if you don't mind?
Sure. Yeah, I'm glad to, because the backstory is extremely important so that history doesn't repeat itself. We had diagnosed with a home COVID test. At this point, relative to COVID, when I say the word COVID, I want you to just understand my definition. It isn't mine. It's from my research, is COVID was a complete psyop. So when I say COVID, or I say COVID vaccine, or whatever, it's meant in the context of COVID being a psyop to fool the American public and the world. Anyway, we diagnosed Grace with a home COVID test on October 1st. We were going to go to a wedding that day, and we just thought we would do our, quote, civic duty, which is another lie we've been told. And so we tested her. She tested positive. We decided to not go to the wedding based on that test. Ultimately, we were following the FLCCC, which is Frontline COVID Critical Care. I forgot what the third C stands for, but it doesn't really matter. But it was a different set of doctors that had a different treatment protocol for supposed COVID. So we were following that protocol with ivermectin, vitamins, etc. But ultimately, we bought a tool called a pulse oximeter, which you put on your finger to measure your oxygen saturation. The morning of October 6th, that number dropped to 88%. The protocol from FLCCC said that's an emergency, admit yourself to the hospital. So we did. Grace went into the hospital with a cold. They lied to us and said, we'll just keep her on a preventative protocol of oxygen and a steroid for 3-4 days, and she'll be home. And Grace was dead 7 days later.
Yeah. Wow. And
the take home that I want people to realize, so that's what got her there. But the more important piece is my role in that, because I had bought into the propaganda, and, God did not give us a spirit of fear. And my fear of my daughter having COVID, her oxygen dropping, is what led, ultimately Grace died because of my fear. And that's important for people to realize, because we had no business buying a pulse oximeter.
Of drugs that led to her death. And when family members asked for doctors to step in and save the young woman, they did not.
What's the reason? We had no baseline. So my critical thinking had checked out. And if we would have had one and measured Grace's oxygen saturation every time she had a cold or flu in the past, we would have seen, well, this is just normal. You just walk through it. She had no symptoms other than a cold.
Did you bring this up here before I bring Croc into the mix here? That's co-hosting here the show with us today. Did you bring this up with doctors with the differences between the common cold or influenza disease versus COVID at all? Was that brought up with doctors or pharmaceutical?
Michael Gardner untapped.
Well, it wasn't, because the reality is I thought Grace had COVID. And when we checked into the hospital, they told me bluntly, we're not going to follow the protocol you're following. We have a different protocol here. And unfortunately, I bowed to the white coat. You probably know I have my own podcast. It's called Deprogramming with Grace's Dad. Well, the programming that we have bought into as a country is the medical industrial complex has got us bowing down to white coats, believing they're following the Hippocratic Oath, which has been shortened to do no harm. Well, if you peel back the Hippocratic Oath, you'll see it's an oath to satanic gods. There was never the idea that we should be bowing to white coats. I mean, the only person we're responsible to bow to is our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Other than that, anytime you bow to somebody else, it's going to result in it's not necessarily going to result in your physical death like what happened to Grace, but it can, because you've let your guard down. So anyway, the propaganda, the programming, all of that is alive and well. Most people don't realize that the government. So with COVID, it got exposed to me. I was not awake to any of this. I was simply a conservative business owner. Now I'm not conservative at all. I'm anti-politics because of what I found out. I mean, they are literally all in on it. But ultimately, the government. So how many times do we hear safe and effective with the COVID jab? Hundreds of thousands,
countless of times. I mean, Fauci even says this to this day. I mean, he was just drilled in the House chamber there by Georgia's Marjorie Taylor Greene and countless others.
Michael, Savage on Spotify.
The origins of COVID and finding out the origins and how that could better lead to both protecting against spillover and wildlife trade, but also increased biosafety standards. As you sit here today, is it possible that COVID-19 was the result of a laboratory-related accident?
Oh, absolutely. And like I mentioned multiple times, I keep an open mind. I feel, based on the data that I have seen, that the more likely, not definitive, but the more likely explanation is a natural spillover from an animal reservoir. But since there has not been definitive proof one way or the other, we have to keep an open mind that it could be either about that. And it was inappropriate to do that.
This is back in 2021. Right. What did you know about what he was doing then?
I didn't know exactly what he was doing, but I don't think it's inappropriate for people to be communicating and helping a grantee in a response. I didn't know exactly what he was doing.
Countlessly challenging him on a lot of misinformation that he presented to the American public throughout the entire COVID era. And you're seeing that over and over and over. But before I go with the whole Fauci thing, because I believe that the man should be held accountable for a lot of misinformation that he presented on not only in America, but on the world stage in that matter. And there needs to be more investigations to, the origins of COVID. We demand, where the hell this thing came from, because we're still making assumptions with, Wuhan, and there's other assumptions coming from possibly being a man-made disease and that nature here in the States. We demand to understand. We demand Fauci to come out and say the truth. Damn it! I mean, you even if it comes to a point where he needs to be federally prosecuted for crimes against humanity. And I'm going to say that. But before I go there with you a little bit more on this story here, Scott, I do want to bring Croc in. Croc, do you have anything you want to weigh in on this, buddy?
Sure, man. First off, I'm so sorry for your loss, man. That's detrimental. That's unfathomable. But yeah, it's disgusting that people were sitting there, Fauci, ouchie. That, the ouchie is death. It killed a couple of my family members. I don't talk about it because you're very strong for talking about it. You have a very good constitution to be able to hold that. Yeah, I agree with more investigations. We know this was man-made. They want to find out, fix climate change. We don't know if that's man-made, but we do know COVID was man-made, and they don't want to investigate it more like they should, and it's disgraceful. And anything I can do to help push the narrative, I'm here.
Well, I appreciate that very much. I mean, what you can do is share this program with anybody with ears to hear, because the goal is to wake people up, physically, so that they can save their lives in a hospital setting, but more importantly, spiritually. This is a spiritual battle, and I want to drill that down with your last comment. So you said we need to have investigations, more investigations. The problem is that's the fox guarding the hen house. There's nobody that's not in on this, so we can't have more investigations. Then take it to, like I was mentioning before you came on, Croc, the lying. Well, safe and effective was a lie. No one will be held to account for lying about safe and effective. And I can prove it with the Brooke Jackson case. And the reason they will not be held to account is because the Smith-Mundt Act was repealed in 2012. The Smith-Mundt Act was passed in 1948, and that was a lie. That was another lie. But regardless, the law at that time said the United States government could not use propaganda against its own citizens. Well, that law was repealed in 2012. So everything they did with COVID was a lie, but it was legal. So no one will be held to account for it. But take it to the highest level possible, which would be, let's hold Fauci to account. Let's hold Pfizer to account. Well, guess what? If the United States government does that, let's say that we hang Fauci just to be facetious. Well, the reality is people would rally behind that. The people who are awake like us would rally behind that. But what happened is, then this is the spiritual piece of this. This is exactly how Satan uses the Hegelian dialectic. We see the evil, and then it creates a reaction, and then the solution. Satan is in charge of both halves. So all of a sudden we get confidence back in the United States government because they held Fauci or Pfizer accountable. That is the craziest. People have to see this, otherwise you're going to be duped again. And I want to drill down the Brooke Jackson case so that people understand what I'm talking about. I have a slide on it. I'm just going to pull it up on my other screen so I can read directly. If you haven't heard of the Brooke Jackson case, Brooke Jackson worked for Pfizer. And it just so happens, by God's providence, one of her attorneys is also one of our attorneys in our lawsuit. And so he was able to give me the insight. A lot of time with my own research on the Brooke Jackson case. So I stumbled across this case in my research and found out she worked for Pfizer. She saw that they were not doing any testing of this supposed vaccine. So our country has what's called a False Claims Act process. So if you see as an employee or whoever that a company is defrauding the United States government, you can file a False Claims Act lawsuit. So she did, and she got whistleblower status. She filed that lawsuit on January 8th of 2021. So think about how long ago that was. Grace died in the fourth quarter of 2021, and that was the highest quarter of hospital murders in the 39-month COVID era. That's because this lawsuit was already out. There was a fear in the government that if people know what's going on, they won't take the jab. So they used hospital murders to ratchet up the fear porn to the ultimate level. So now she files that False Claims Act. Pfizer comes back in their defense and says, listen, we have what's called an OTA, an other authority agreement with the Department of Defense. And we didn't have to do any testing because this was never a vaccine. On October 4th, 2022, the United States government in whistleblower came in behind Pfizer and supported Pfizer. And this is from their motion. It says, in short, the complaint does not plead factual content to support a conclusion that compliance with clinical trial protocol or regulations was necessary under the contract between Pfizer and the Army. So this is the United States government admitting this thing was never a vaccine. Well, May 1st, just this last May 1st, just a month ago, there was the federal judge held a hearing on a motion to dismiss the case. What was the purpose of the motion? The purpose of the motion to dismiss, the United States government called in, they want the federal judge to dismiss the case because if this case gets out, the entire United States population will lose confidence in the government's health agenda. And I'm putting agenda as underlined, all caps, bold, because it is an agenda. And until people see that, they will not be woken up and be prepared to take care of their families.
Yeah. Scott, I had a question to ask you when we were discussing about, the difference between COVID and the cold or, influenza. Did the hospital rule it out as COVID with your daughter's death at all? If you want to weigh in on that, I know it's a little uncomfortable to say, with the sympathy and everything that had happened, but did they rule it out as a COVID death, or did they rule it out as something entirely different?
On Grace's death certificate, it says that there's two causes of death. The first one was acute respiratory failure with hypoxemia, and that is a direct cause and effect for sedating Grace for 5 days. The package insert for Precedex says that if you use it for more than 24 hours, it's going to cause the first cause of death on Grace's death certificate. The second cause of death is listed as COVID-19 pneumonia. And there's a very specific reason to list that as a second cause of death. The first one is the hospital receives a $13,000 death bonus if they list COVID-19 pneumonia as a cause of death. Second of all, the government can look like the savior to the family. The government, just a wake-up call to everybody, it isn't China. It is not China that is behind this COVID psyop. It is our own government. What happened then, using the Hegelian dialectic model, our government comes in like a savior again. They facilitated COVID, and then they will write a check to the family to cover their funeral expenses as long as COVID is on the death certificate. So when we were approached for that death bonus to bury Grace, of course, we turned it down because we already were awake then. I mean, we were waking up very quickly after Grace's death. And my wife instantly said, we don't want their dirty money. And we never took the money.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it seems to be about. It seems to be about money. It seems to be about empowering big pharma. And that, to be honest with you guys, I mean, that's disgusting. For those who are viewing us here on X, thank you very much. Make sure you hit that QR code that's in the upper right-hand corner, because this episode will be available on Spotify very, very shortly. But to rule it out as a COVID death versus, something entirely that has nothing to do with COVID, it possibly has something to do with something entirely different of what you're saying here on the show. That to me is dark. Because then it's like, okay, well, like you just mentioned, you rule it out as a COVID death. Hospitals will get their big break from it. They'll get their little bonus incentive from it, and the fear mongering will come into play. And you started seeing that all over the country, especially during the COVID era. Like you would see Fox News and CNN and MSNBC constantly put up these what was called COVID scoreboards. Right. Of literally deaths just happening one after the other. And you notice how the COVID scoreboards, Scott, disappeared. They don't do that anymore because, well, the fear mongering is not in place anymore. The American public is starting to understand this, and they're starting to be more informed instead of misinformed. That was the difference. People were misinformed then, and they were listening to media, and they were listening to people like Fauci and others, like literally fearing this thing out of proportion, saying that, please use 6 feet of distancing. Please practice social distancing. Please put a mask on. Then the mask went to 2 masks. Then the 2 mask thing said, well, maybe possibly we should put 3 masks on. Like these people, like now I'm thinking of it, these people literally want to depopulate the country right now. Not only the country, but probably the world. Like you said, you brought up a good point, Scott. A lot of people are assuming that it has no connection with China whatsoever. It doesn't. There's no connection with the lab leak or any of that nature. It could possibly be right here in our own backyard in the United States. So if it is, let's talk a little bit about the depopulating theory. Like, why do you think, in your personal opinion, probably, if you want to weigh in on it, why do you think they want to go to that avenue?
Satan's war against mankind started with the garden, and it has never stopped. Satan hates man because man was made in God's image, and he has sowed a couple of whoppers over time. One is we have limited resources on the planet. And so consequently, because of the limited resources, we need to implement climate change and population control. So now take that through the law of entropy 6,000 years later. What does that look like? We have been programmed to a degree people can't understand. And God prophesied this ahead of time in Revelation 18:23. He told us how Satan is going to do it in Revelation 13. He said he's going to have two systems, an antichrist system and a false prophet system. This is the Hegelian dialectic model I was telling you about earlier. But in Revelation 18:23, I'm just going to quote it. I have it on a slide here so I don't misquote it. It says, "For your merchants were the most important people, because with your sorcery," which if you look in the Greek, sorcery is pharmakia, "they deceived all the nations." I believe the United States is the one that is leading the entire world to that end. COVID exposed it. In the 39 months that we call the COVID era, there were 1.2 million hospital murders in the United States. So you think, is that a big number, little number? I'm going to tell you it's a huge number. There's 200 countries on the planet. The United States was number one of all the countries in the entire world with 1.2 million hospital murders. Number two was India. Consider that India's population is 4 times that of the United States, and their land mass is only 1/3. Yet their hospital murder number was 531,000, less than half of the United States. So this should wake people up. That statistic alone should wake people up to say, oh my gosh, we have been told we live in the best country in the world, right? We have our freedoms, and it's all a lie. It's all a lie to get us to point the finger at all the other countries. It's called projecting your sin. So you look at what we talk about with the Canadian MAID program, medical assistance in dying. Well, those naughty Canadians, they have socialized medicine. That's why they're doing that. Well, I'll tell you folks, March 23rd of 2010, we codified socialized medicine with Obamacare. Believe me, I'm not throwing Obama under the bus. I'm throwing all the politicians under the bus. And if you look at Section 1553 of Obamacare, you will see we legalized euthanasia way before the Canadians in Section 1553. It's legal to euthanize our population in Obamacare. And people don't realize it. They can't wrap their heads around it. When people hear me talk, the people who are not awake, they think that I've lost my mind. I have not lost my mind. God gave me this ability to research, and that's why I've been on so many programs.
I don't think you lost your mind. Clearly, by what you're saying, you're trying to inform people and wake people up. And I think most of us are trying to do the very same thing, Scott. I think the people that have lost their mind are a lot of these career politicians, a lot of these so-called scientists of hacks that have no idea what science is about, and they're trying to manipulate the theories around it to create the I'm going to use this language, guys, fear porn, because that's what you're seeing in the country. A lot of fear porn, and they'll go to avenues, dark avenues, and literally scare the crap out of you. You've seen it with COVID. I mean, you had one man, including others around him, that circulated around this theory, literally believing every word of it. When I heard this, Scott, I have videos and everything else that I would put out here on X, including my other accounts that were then now suspended. Now I had to go to another avenue to create more accounts because they kept on getting suspended and blocked. But I thank Elon Musk now for allowing me to give the free speech prior to the old platform of X, then Twitter. But other accounts, including Facebook, I would constantly put out videos of just different experiments of just listening to these idiotic type of comments coming from these politicians and including big media figureheads like Don Lemon and all that, just to name for example. Well, with the masks and then the COVID jabs and everything else. And I'm like, well, I said, well, let's take a mask here, okay, and we'll use fragments of spray, aerosol spray, which if you look at it, it has the same breakdown of a cough or sneeze, just about. The fragment might be off by like to a small little degree, but it's just about damn near just about the same. You take aerosol spray and you spray it at the mask. Some of that aerosol spray, will come out through the middle of it and through the sides of the mask. Now, if I could spray aerosol spray through a mask, who's to say that when I'm coughing through that mask, that is coming out of the mask? It's the same way. Like these people, like when you go to do that immediately back then in 2019, or not 2019, but going into 2020, you would see little bars on the bottom pop up. For more information about COVID, please visit such and such. And it would usually indicate a CDC health website. And like when I see that, I'm like, damn it, man. Here comes the censorship. Here comes the algorithm through the CDC. They're putting in those COVID algorithms right away. And you would get that constantly. And you still get that to this day. So if they're putting that down there, what the hell are they afraid of? I mean, what are they afraid of? Of people like myself and others that are constantly challenging the argument about COVID and constantly challenging the argument about these COVID jabs and these booster shots. Like, what are they afraid of? If you don't have anything to hide, you wouldn't put those little disclaimers on the bottom of videos and comments. They're all over platforms, even to an extent here on X, on Twitter. You see it on TikTok, you see it on Facebook, you see it on Instagram, you see it all over the board. That's what I have to ask, Scott. What are they afraid of? Right?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that, what are they afraid of? The only thing that they're ultimately afraid of is if we have God behind us. And I'll give you just an example of what's going on. There's an all-court press right now to get people to buy into the COVID narrative. Yeah. And so, Fauci's testimony fits into that. The idea that they're still spewing the lie about a lab leak, because all of that gets us to think that COVID was real. So we subtly are agreeing, we're tacitly agreeing that COVID was not a complete psyop that was done by design. And so when we get into those narratives, we're falling trap. And I want to take it off of Fauci and off of COVID just for a minute, because we just received in the news, all of us heard in the last couple of days, the treaty with the World Health Organization was rejected.
Yeah.
Okay. So just process that in terms of what I'm saying from a satanic agenda perspective. And we have to go back to COVID. With COVID, the entire world was in lockstep. The entire world, other than 5 or 6 countries who are not yet controlled by Satan. So the only one who could ever pull that off is Satan with his minions. Otherwise, there's no way you could get them in lockstep. So then this whole idea with the treaty with the World Health Organization is simply a decoy to get us to think, oh, look we won. We got a victory. Oh, my God. Nothing could be further from the truth. We did not get a victory here. That is not, it's just to get us off track because they want us to focus.
Yeah, the truth is, I'm sorry, I got to chime in because I got to get a quick break before we continue the conversation. But the truth is, okay, that the truth that we speak is the kryptonite to a lot of these leftists and totalitarian type of politicians up in Washington. They can't stand the truth. When you speak the truth, like I said, it's the kryptonite to them. They don't want to hear it. They want to inject the toxicity in this country, and you're seeing it full force. The toxicity in this country is at an all-time high. And I want to go there with you because I also want to get Croc in here because he's been a little quiet. But guys, I want to thank you for basically viewing us here on X as we are live streaming this on X. And thank you very much. If you guys want to weigh in on the conversation, get the comments in. Feel free to, put the comments here in the chat. Okay, I welcome all comments, whether they're positive. It's all about free speech. I welcome it. Okay, but also want to thank some really, really good sponsors here of the show. Blackout Coffee. That's right, guys. At Blackout Coffee, it is truly for America's warriors. And I mean, literally, Shaky and I, we talk about that show. That's in the behind the scenes method here. We talk all the time about this tremendous patriotic conservative company because they're about giving back to Americans. They also support veterans here in the country as well too. They have tremendous foundations through Wounded Warriors Project here in the United States and countless others. If you want to learn anything about this amazing coffee company, scan the QR code, guys, and use code SAVAGE for 15% off your order if you decide to purchase some of their wonderful products, including 2A Guns and Gadgets, Brutal Awakening. Most of their coffee names most of it's all patriotic, and I love about the company, Blackout Coffee Company. So hat tip to you guys over there at Blackout Coffee Company, giving back to the people, and they should. They should. Back to the show. Croc, I want to get your insights here on some of what we're talking about. Do you want to weigh in on any of this, buddy, about, COVID or Fauci? Because you and I have talked several times about Fauci in a lot of these X spaces with the background of the booster shots and, COVID jabs and everything else. I'll give you a mic, buddy, because I know you've been kind of quiet. So go ahead, bud.
Hey, man. The boosters is what I'd like to talk about. I think the boosters were after they realized it didn't kill enough people. Maybe that was the whole thought process behind that, but I didn't know. This is my first time on your show, but check it out. Blackout.
There you go. I see that. Yeah, you're a big supporter of Blackout Coffee, so thank you very much for putting that on. Yeah. So, I want to talk about a little bit about, before we bring Scott back into the mix with Fauci. Okay. I do want to touch a little bit about that because, Jim Jordan has been pressing him on the House chamber for several years now on this issue with misleading the American public on the origins of COVID. And still yet we're still to get an answer, a clear answer from Fauci. We get Wuhan lab leak theories from him from time to time, but still he does not give us a clear background of COVID. Like, what's your opinion on that?
I think Big Pharma is in everybody's pocket up there, and they're told to shut the hell up, and they're going to, like you said, stay in lockstep. And he brings that great point. It's becoming a uniparty behind money, because money... shitty saying, but it is the root of all evil, but it also is required. But it goes back to what he said. A God-fearing man is something that is not nowadays something that is treasured. These people that just we have Pride Month right now. That's not godly. We're destroying this country. But yeah, man, what's going on with Fauci? Give me a different take, if you don't mind.
Well, so when we, I'll be real quick because I want to get Scott back into the mix. When we were going through the beginning phase of COVID and Fauci, and everybody basically got reintroduced to Fauci because he's been kind of off the radar since the 80s, and everybody remembers that with the AIDS epidemic through the 80s. We were reintroduced to the man, Anthony Fauci, right? And no one really understood him, or got to understand him now than they did then, because a lot of people that were reintroduced to him, a lot of these new millennials, they didn't really go through the experience with the AIDS epidemic with him and the fear mongering, because there was a lot of fear mongering back then that he orchestrated, Croc, that he did with COVID to this day. a lot of fear mongering, or I like to call it fear porn, because we've seen it all over the panel, all over the board. So what I'm trying to say is, do you believe? Yeah, real quick. Do you believe that he should be accountable? Do you believe that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and countless others, Jim Jordan, and even Matt Gaetz here in Florida, should be pressing against?
Absolutely, they should press against Fauci, and everybody that's back Fauci should actually be right there with him. If you had his back and you allowed the murder of innocent, not just Americans, around the world, like he's Hitler status, he's Genghis Khan status, he's killed more people. And sit there and with his smirk on his face, he goes to the ball game, he takes his mask off next to people. Like, just seeing that again just reminds me of how blatantly ignorant it was, and those who make the laws don't have to follow their laws. And right there, Gavin Newsom going out with his friends, stuff like that. It's like, oh, it was outside. No, the fuck it wasn't, dude. You're a bunch. Yeah. You make the rules for thee, not for me. It's a disgusting process. It's a democratic demonization.
Yeah, demonization. I like how you present that, because that's what we're seeing here in the country. Demonization, radicalization. I say that from countless times in X spaces, because I'm heavily presented on these spaces, mainly political spaces sometimes. And I use the term all the time, radicalization. And I get pushed back on that word. Oh, you can't use that, Savage. That's
triggering. It's triggering. You know what's triggering? Killing my family members and my friends with your freaking jab.
Yeah,
that's triggering.
Oh, absolutely.
Children. Like,
absolutely. Sorry, I want to get Scott back into the mix here. But Scott, how do you feel about what I just mentioned about this radicalization we're seeing in government? Because that's my opinion, but I'd like to get your opinion on that, sir.
Well, I really like the bantering with the two of you guys back and forth on it. What I have seen, because of studying this Hegelian dialectic and the satanic model in Revelation 13, is I don't see, if Fauci is convicted, it's going to be based on that model, the Revelation 13 model with the false prophet. The reason I say that is because every single one of the ones that are going to convict them need to be convicted themselves, including President Trump, because they are literally all in on it. And that's what people are missing. When I hear people rally around Trump, I voted for Trump twice. I mean, this is how far off the rails I went. I won't be voting in this election. The reason is because the evil versus less evil concept in Revelation 13, that's what I'm called to share. I have been, God showed me this, and I am called to share that concept. We cannot vote our way out of this. No politician's ever going to hold Fauci accountable, because Fauci is going to start pointing the fingers back on them, because they are literally all in on it. And I cannot say that strongly enough.
But I got a question for you. You just brought up something here with I will not be voting in this next general election. Which I feel that, and my personal opinion towards that, Scott, is that's very upsetting to hear, no matter what side of the aisle you support, Republican or Democrat. Because when I hear people saying that, I will not vote in this election, to me, it's like, well, you're giving the opportunity to those still gaining the power to manipulate and control and corrupt this nation even more. I do feel that.
Let me frame it. I have another interview I've got to get going to, but I'll frame it.
We're going to wrap it up here with you, sir. Yeah,
I just want people to understand where I'm coming from. So we've been sold this idea of our civic duty is to vote. Okay, I get it. I mean, I was brought up with that, and I voted in every single election. The first time I didn't vote was in the Senate election in 2022. I'm from Wisconsin. You can tell because I don't have an accent. Ron Johnson was running against Mandela Barnes, and I was listening. It's the first time I woke up to this civic duty psyop that we've been sold. The pastor I was listening to, his name is Matt Truella. He wrote a book called The Doctrine of the Lesser Magistrates, and I have become friends with him. And he said, we've got Mandela Barnes, who thinks that a woman can have an abortion all the way up to a live birth. And Ron Johnson says, no, only in the first trimester. So they're both murderers. It's just a matter of degree. And that's first time I saw it. And
I had a gentleman on real quick, because I know your time is limited and I'm going to respect that. But I had a gentleman on just recently, and we got into the whole 6-week ordeal with the heartbeat, and where it's really not a heartbeat, it's not a pulse. You're hearing something else, and I was blown away. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
the theories that these people come up with, it's just unreal, man.
So Jesus said it. Jesus told us, either you're for me or you're against me. So when we vote for less evil, I mean, intuitively, we've always, all of us who have any common sense know we've been voting for the lesser of two evils. But we never thought that we were actually voting for Satan. Well, Jesus told us we're voting for Satan. The less evil is still evil. And that's what I'm choosing to not participate in anymore. And I want to wake anyone who's willing to listen up to that scheme that Satan uses, the evil versus less evil dialectic scheme. And when you start looking at history through that scheme, so look at the League of Nations from World War I. So we got the League of Nations. That's supposed to save the world. So we have World War I is evil. The League of Nations, less evil. It has nothing to do with God. We have World War II, then we have the United Nations. It's the same pattern over and over. We have something evil, then Satan comes up with a less evil plan. But it's to have us have confidence in man versus confidence in God. And, I was not awake to this. I mean, it took my daughter's murder to wake me up to this most important principle that I am trying to share.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that story. And I'm going to say my hearts and condolences go out to your family. That what happened to your daughter there, Grace. And
Amen. Well, thank you. I
knew
when your show said unrestricted. I knew you were the guy to let me talk.
We don't hold back, and I usually fire back against some types of people I have. I just mentioned that guy that we got into the heartbeat scenario, and I was firing back a little bit. But hearing your story, I do show heart and sympathy to those of certain guests. I do have a heart. I'm not all savage like people claim to be, like, oh, he's an evil bastard and this and that. No, I'm not that way. I do have a heart and sympathy to those that deserve it. So again, Scott, I give my condolences and thoughts to your family. Unfortunate of what happened, and my hearts and condolences throughout the entire country that are still dealing with this COVID nightmare. Because I don't call it a pandemic, I call it a plandemic. And I'm not afraid to use those terms. It's a plandemic, and it still is a plandemic to orchestrate fear amongst those of weak-minded individuals. And I'm sorry that you bought it. I'm sorry that you sort of drank the Kool-Aid, folks. But we have to wake up. We have to be more informative, like Scott's referring here on the show, and we have to listen. Like I always say in conversation, if you want to trust the argument or trust the article, verify it. Don't just use one search engine like Google. Go to different search engines and trust it. Spend hours upon something before you make an assumption, right? Trust but verify. That's how I live it. Scott, as we depart, I'd like to give this opportunity to you, sir, to plug some information towards my listeners and people that are going to view this here on X, including that where they can find you, sir. Go ahead.
Well, I forgot about that opportunity. Thank you. So first, Savage, it was really great to meet you. Croc, same thing. It's been a gift to have this opportunity this morning. If people want to follow us, you can go to Grace's main website. It's ouramazinggrace.net. You can follow us on Substack. There's a link in the upper right-hand corner. My podcast, Deprogramming with Grace's Dad. The links are there. We're on all the major platforms. And then if you want to follow the lawsuit, we have a link to sign up for the specialized newsletter for the lawsuit. So all those things, my research, everything is referenced through ouramazinggrace.net. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, guys. And if you missed that, we'll put that in the show notes here on our audio platforms. All the information you can you can check out at your personal leisure. And thank you very much, Scott, for joining us. Appreciate it, sir.
God bless you guys.
All righty. All right. So that was Scott Schara. Did I say it right? I fucking butchered it again. I'm sorry. Boy, oh boy. So, as we kind of close up, we put, you keep on putting him on the main screen, damn it. Jesus.
He is sexy.
So, I'm telling you. So real quick here, as we close up here on X and then close it out for our audio platforms, including Spotify and countless others. What last closing arguments or comments here, Croc? What'd you think of that with Scott?
I think Scott's awesome, man. He's a strong man. That is something that America needs right now. He sticks to it. He doesn't fold. As a man that he's staying true.
Yeah,
I respect that. And hell yeah, dude, your show is always awesome. So thank you for allowing me to be here.
Yeah, and thank you for being part of it. As we close up, guys, I do want to say one couple things here as we kind of wrap it up. Shaky yelling at me in my earpiece. Yeah, I can. Yeah,
I lost connection.
Anyway, but no, it's good. It's good. But like I say, hearing Scott, that last bit of comments he brought into the show with, I will not be voting in this election. It breaks my heart, guys, because I brought back to him and a cross argument kind of was,
Savage.
I'm here. If I'm not, one second, Croc, I hear you. But if I'm not, where the hell was I? Croc is interfering. Oh, there we go. I gotta get my words together. But if you're not going to vote in the election, right? Well, then you're given the torch to the others to invoke the corruption even more and the manipulation and the creed and all that stuff. You're allowing it to happen even more. You're letting it continue. So by saying that, you're not going to vote, well then, with all due respect, you're kind of giving up, right? I mean, that's just my personal opinion on it. So please vote. Don't vote. Don't stop voting. Continue to vote, right? Continue to vote and continue to, show your voice. Make it heard. Push back. Because if we don't push back, they're going to push us off the freaking cliff. And we're going to be down there. So last set of comments, Croc, and then we gotta call it a day, man.
I'm gonna tell you real quick. No vote is a vote. If you don't vote, you're voting not to vote. So therefore, you said you're giving away your vote to somebody else.
Absolutely.
It's a lesser of evils, but that's the thing. A lesser. I would rather have somebody of a lesser. If we have an option to not be as bad, let's take it. Let's not just allow the other side to steal the vote, because they're going to steal your vote if you don't vote. You're going to be a Democrat, like everybody in the graveyard. Democrats.
Yeah, you're right about that. Guys, a couple of announcements here. Join us here in October, guys, as I'm going to have the opportunity to be calling several fights and matches with upcoming congressional candidate running for Congress here in the state of Florida, Nathan Snyder. That's right, guys. I will be over in St. Petersburg, Florida, for several fights. We're told, about 8 to 12 fights, right, Shaky? 8 to 12 fights. And Nathan is not only running for Congress in the 14th district here in Florida, but he's actually getting back into the octagon after several years of not competing. So my hat tip and respect goes out to Nathan for doing that. Join us in October as dates and times and ticket information will become more available towards that time, as I will be calling his matches as a guest commentator. Utmost honor in doing that. We are going to be throwing in some teaser video packages, as you will see that on upcoming episodes to promote some of those fights. So please look out for that, as that will be presented here on the show, including our platforms on Facebook and X and Rumble and countless others. But thank you very much for joining us. I want to thank Croc for spending his morning and now towards his afternoon with us here on Savage Unfiltered. And all the information, guys, we'll put up the QR code up here in the upper left-hand corner. All the information can be found at savageunfiltered.com. That's right, guys. Scan the QR code and all the video and audio and clips and everything on there, including my book, guys, America's Political Warfare, Our Modern Civil War. That can be found on Amazon.com. If you missed that, guys, I'll put that in the show notes here for all my audio listeners. Amazing, amazing book. So thank you very much, guys. Be savage, not average. Till next time.